Right, so I'm going to explain a little bit about how this video is going to work. So I will show my journey up to London Luton Airport. I'll show you around the external part of London Luton Airport, and then I will show you the route back. Now I couldn't go inside and all around because it's still COVID times technically, and people don't really want to be going up in the airport if they don't really have to be. So it was the setup up there was a bit strange. I didn't want to just bowl in there and potentially just get chucked out. So on this occasion I didn't go in. But either way, I'm going to talk a bit about before COVID London Luton Airport, now we're in COVID London Luton Airport, and essentially how things should look going forward. So the route up to London Luton Airport is actually quite swift. It's very straightforward from the station, Luton interchange. It's about 4 to 5 minute journey, so it's very straightforward. And the buses come very frequently as well, so you're in good location. If you find yourself at the Luton interchange, you're only going to be about 5 to 10 minutes from the airport because of how frequent they come and how long it takes on the bus. So, London Luton Airports, previously known as just Luton Airport, but you know, the way it is now, it is very much a well-branded airport. Before, the marketing for this airport was atrocious. It was terrible. It was really bad. But they've gone through a very well-rounded marketing campaign, rebranding, and when you arrive there, you look like you're at a very classy, very modern airport, and it gives you a good sense of being in the 21st century as opposed to being stuck in the Stone Ages. So that's very, very good. It's actually the 5th largest and one of the fastest growing major airports. Something it's really proud of is that they basically achieved 43 months of consecutive passenger growth. That is actually crazy. So we're just passing the new developments at Kimpton Road and the Strawberry Star LU2ON. Amazing looking developments. So they're right by Luton Airport Parkway, which is a rail station, and you can also get to Luton Airport from there as well. So there's, as you can see, there's Luton Airport Parkway and also the Hampton by Hilton Hotel. So nice to see. And finally the Dart, which is due to open in 2021. Hopefully it's not today, but anyway, back to what I was talking about. The future direction of the airport is essentially no, let's go back to before. You know, they set out a very conclusive plan. They said they want to be the airport of choice, and essentially they were going in a good direction before COVID, because as I said, having 43 months of consecutive passenger growth is incredible. And they have very big plans, and still I'm sure they want to commit to those. But as we move into COVID times, the passenger numbers obviously went to virtually nil, and that really impacted Luton Borough Council, because Luton Borough Council owns essentially a company which then owns Luton Airport. So more or less Luton Borough Council is the majority stakeholder and majority beneficiary of the airport. But at the same time, the airport generates an incredible amount of tax income, and essentially they're all ground to a halt. So the local councils and the local boroughs of Luton have been heavily impacted by the reduction in the passenger numbers and flights. Now, as you venture up to the airport, right around that area, you can see that there are, well, you might not see just now, actually you will. There's several hotels. You've got Courtyard, which is a Marriott. You've got a few others there. You've got an Ibis. You've got 2 Holiday Inns, and you've got a Travel Lodge, I believe, which just shows you, you know, there's a good amount of business up around that airport. Definitely. And it's a shame there's no independence. You know, it's all being just gobbled up by the big ones, the big uns. So yes, as you can see, Anyway, as I was saying, London Luton Airport does generate a significant amount of Luton Borough Council's tax revenue. It pays for vital services and infrastructure, and basically over the last 5 years London Luton Airport has also provided more than £50 million to local charities, communities, voluntary organisations, and in Luton and beyond in other communities, to be honest. But they're all impacted by the reduction. It's not just as simple as the airport, but the entire community of Luton is impacted by there being less of travel, less business to the airport. It's almost that the town's future and survival to some degree is predicated on Luton Airport having success. So that is a bit of a twist of fate there in a way. They are investing, you know, as you saw earlier, the Luton DART, direct air to rail transit, which will perform public transport access to Luton Airport. It essentially, from London St Pancras to getting to the front of the airport, it should be swift as you like, because it's about 20 minutes on a fast train from St Pancras, and then when you get to Luton Airport, the DART should get you there in about 10 minutes as well, and it should be frequent, so very quick from the centre of London, half an hour. You can see EasyJet, they have a big base at Luton Airport, massive base, and as you pull into essentially what is the coach station at the airport, there's just so many public transport buses that stop here. They go to all number of places. They go to Stansted, they go to Heathrow, they go to Birmingham, they go Northampton. It's really good to see. And as you step out, as I said, look at the design, look at the way it looks. It's very open, it's very inviting. So when you're at the place, it's really good to see, you know, and the visuals is clean. It's a clean, nice place to be. Absolutely. And this is during COVID. Right, so at the airport, there's all well organised during COVID-19. There's a lot of keep left, one-way walking, and there's a lot of empty space. So you don't have to stand near people at all, to be honest. There's plenty of space, plenty of room. Everyone's got their face coverings and face masks anyway, so it's all good. I mean, I could tell passenger numbers are down. When I came here last July, it was busy, it was buzzing, there's a lot of people around. Now, by comparison, I know the numbers just simply are not there. You know, it's a shame really, but we will see how we get on. Let's just take a little moment to see one of our lovely EasyJet planes going for a little ride. I call down there Taxi City. There's just Addison Lees for days, mate. Addison Lees. And they must be suffering heavily during this time period, actually. They wouldn't have as much business as before. However, they might actually still be getting business because people will prefer to take private transport rather than public transport still. So you never know, actually. It could have evened out because they don't want to be surrounded by loads of people. Again, some nice great views of what looks like a private jet making its way out the country. Who knows who it is? Is it Jay-Z? Is it Kanye? Not likely, mate. Not likely. Right, so I'm here at London Luton Airport. I used to come here every day on my commute when I was going to Kings Langley, and it would normally be about 6 in the morning each day, or 5:30 in the morning every day. And I would also see it on my return back at about 4 in the afternoon, and it was always an experience. I'd sort of look around and see the bars and see what's happening, and I always just thought, yeah, this is a place to be now. Compared to what it used to be before, it's definitely a place to be. And the infrastructure is just growing constantly. The buses run like clockwork now. They got a good taxi system. They got a nice balance of staff working and helping out, and I think it really does work, to be honest. It really does work. They're currently building a multi-story car park, which has propped up overnight, as far as I'm concerned. And they've got a great system going here. You know, I think it really does benefit a lot of people. So more power to it, to be honest. Alright, so it's time to make our way back down from the airport. It's getting dark now, but you can still see the sign is very nicely illuminated. But going back to what I was saying, and I will try and just stay focused on what happens in the video at the same time, but we'll see how we get on. Essentially Luton took off in the mid-1990s when it came to the airport. They introduced low-cost carrier model into Europe, and basically EasyJet, Wizz Air, Ryanair, the type of companies you see now, are thriving because they benefit from the model of this low-cost carrier model. And a lot of companies have found their headquarters in Luton because they know, in relation to London, it's great location. Great, and in terms of cost, it's going to be less than London as well. So there's a lot of benefits to being based out of Luton. TUI are based in Luton. They are a massive company, and again, we know as they restructured themselves post-COVID, Luton Airport is still one of its key sites, its key locations. Something which Luton London Luton Airport has made a clear commitment. They want to invest in local communities, and they basically want to demonstrate that through their community funding program. It's something which I'm only become aware of recently, so I will need to do a bit more research, but I'll share it now with you either way. Essentially, parts of the airport's profits are allocated to a fund which is spent on vital local projects and services, and in the 17-18 year alone, financial year, just under £10 million was allocated to the programme, and since when it was introduced in 2013, it's become worth more than £50 million. In fact, they have this statement: "We are an airport owner entirely focused on supporting and improving people's lives and driving economic and employment growth, both in Luton and neighbouring communities." That's a bold statement. If they truly stand behind that, and they are champions and advocates for it, then that is a statement which I am more than happy to get behind and champion, because it's the community. It's always going to be the community that props you up. All of the staff that work at Luton Airport are going to be based there. They're going to travel there. They're going to socialise around it. They're going to want their health looked after around it. It's a whole community, and I'm sure they would have banded together during this COVID times, even though passenger numbers are dropping. But there will be a resurgence. There will be a return to glory at some point once everything is in the clear. So, I mean, my personal recommendation now, just on the route to and from Luton Airport, is don't get a taxi and don't walk it. If I was you, okay, if you've got hundreds of cases, fair enough. But if you know you're doing a short journey, you're taking 2 bags that you can carry, and they're going to go on the plane with you, then get the public transport. It's so simple. You'll get a return ticket, open return you can do from I think it's Parkway. I'm not so sure about the standard Arriva buses, but you can get a simple bus and it will drop you off as close as you can get. So minimum amount of walking. If you decide to get a taxi Parkway and walk it, it still ends up being quite a long walk. You don't want that rush, you don't want that stress, especially if you think, you know, there's a chance you might miss the flight, or if you're not as organised as you like to be. So definitely public transport is a good way to go, and very rarely do I see anyone having to run for the bus because they leave so frequently and they are on time. It's good to see, actually. It's good to see. I'll leave you with some more thoughts that the airport is a massive facility. I used to play these games called Tropico, Theme Park, The Sims, and from Tropico especially, it was clear and obvious to me that you only get an airport in an area when you are really thriving, when you're really going after something. And that's the reality for Luton. They've been going after something for a long time, but it needs people in multiple different places to be passionate about it. It's not for the faint-hearted. It's absolutely not. So just enjoy these last few visuals, and then I'll speak to the camera just after this. Something which I noticed straight away was it's very accessible. So you've got stairs, but you've got a lot of nice ramps and areas for wheelchair usage, which is great. So thank you so much for tuning in to my video about London Luton airports. Hope you've enjoyed it. Please do subscribe, like it, and share it so someone else who you think might have an interest in this can watch it and enjoy it. But also, maybe even add it to your favourites, something you want to come back to and have a little look at when you're with that person who might like to see it. Maybe that's a bit more of a nicer thing to do, to be fair. So anyway, my final thoughts on what an airport is and what you expect it to do and be. You know, at the end of the day, having an airport has a certain level of negative output to the people who live there. There's noise pollution, there's genuine actual pollution, there's the impact of traffic, there's the impact of, you know, just more footfall coming through your town or city. Genuinely, the more footfall you get in an area, the more degradation you get, the more, you know, wear and tear you get on very simple things like just the street. If only 5 people walk down the street in a week, that's 5 lots of stepping. But if 5,000 people walk down the street in a week, that's 5,000 lots of stepping. So what we have to be careful and mindful of is that we're not sacrificing people's well-being, homes, and their genuine quality of life just for an airport which benefits us financially. There's a tendency for governments, industries, and institutions to trade people's current health or future and generational health for short-term current financial gain. Now, I personally think that the airport is a good thing, but then again, I don't deal with all of those negative impacts on a day-to-day basis. I know they exist, but I don't always tend to be the victim of it. So I definitely empathize with the people who experience that every day. There are people who live very close to the airport and will experience high numbers of, you know, people parking their cars and taking buses or public transport because they know that it costs a lot to keep their car there. So those people are impacted when those cars that are parked there get in the way. And you might think it's a little thing, but they get in the way of big things. They get in the way of when people want to have their bins emptied. Something as simple as that. If a bin or a dustbin truck cannot get down the street, they will not empty those bins. It's as simple as that. If you've got a brand new television or couch being delivered, and that there's cars stacked all across your street, it's likely that heavy goods vehicle is not going to get into your close, and you're going to have a bad time. So I get it. I definitely get it. But what you have to think about and get more involved in from that side of things is thinking of the bigger picture, and thinking, although I'm impacted, what is the bigger picture? Do I need a car? Do I need to have this thing delivered? We can always look within ourselves and think, do you know what? It doesn't mean that much. It might minorly impact me because of my mentality and my thinking, but in the bigger picture, you can always come back to, do you know what? It's not that big of a deal. But last, thank you very much for watching. I've gone on enough. If you're in the Luton area, if you're travelling from London to Luton Airport, I guarantee you'll have a good time. You'll enjoy it. And on your return or travelling into London Luton Airport, you will also be very impressed with what you see. So thanks very much for watching. My name is Tamar Lavender, and this has been Living with Tamar. Thank you very much, and I'll see you on my next video. Thank you. Don't forget, more than the rest, a fucking 9 to 5. Thank you.